It's finally the week of the big game. The Houston Texans won't be playing in it, but that doesn't mean we can't dream that one day maybe they'll get in it, or they could have beaten one of these teams that's in it.
Keep dreaming. That's all we can do is keep dreaming, and hopefully that dream leads us to the Pro Bowl, which I know in reality most of us will not go to.
Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad Show, starting now.
And welcome in on a Tuesday to the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Michael Connor and John Hickman. Norfleet will be with us here in just a few minutes as we are getting into some Houston Texans discussion tonight as the offseason continues, where nothing is happening just yet. We're still in the pain stage for some, maybe, in the season coming to an end. There is one final football game this weekend. We'll give our predictions and all that for that game coming up on Thursday. Friday when we do. I can't remember what day of the week we do the shows on. Tonight's show, by the way, is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football season on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. All right, John. So the big game is here this weekend. I always love how you have to say the big game, and I'm just going to say it's the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is this weekend. The Seahawks and the who the hell are they playing? The Patriots.
You know who they playing.
I remember who they playing.
You know who they playing.
I don't know what it is. My brain is off today. But before we get to could the Texans have beaten this Seahawks team for facing them a second time this season, we brought it up when we were doing the show the other day. I think we were doing it. We brought it up off the air of discussion. Will the Texans get to a Super Bowl in the Demeco Ryans, C.J. Stroud era?
Man, that's a great
question. You think they'll get there?
That's a great question, MC. The thing about that question is, I think this offseason is what's going to tell it all, right? Because, and I talked about this on the Monday show, or the Tuesday show, but where it's this offseason, it feels like it should be simple, right? You got Kamari Lassiter and Kalen Bullock through 2027. Stingley's locked up. Daniil's locked up for another season. Will Anderson is going, he's not going to go nowhere. Then we know that he'll be the first, in my opinion, to get that contract. So, defensively, what is there to worry about? Coach Rod Wright and the defensive staff, they've done a great job of just turning D tackles in and out. Those guys are coming in sometimes off the street and become productive players to the point where we're talking about Tommy T, one of the young stars on his team that nobody talks about. So, for me, I look at the 2026 offseason and I say to myself, it's easy. You know what you have to do. Find a way to get it done. Help out Nick Caley. Help out your quarterback. And in a lot of ways, help out Demeco Ryans kind of shake this division around, monkey off his back. And I think once Houston can do that, we'll look and see if they can make it to the Super Bowl. But if they don't get it right in 2026, if Nick Caserio and company does not get it right this offseason, I don't think they'll ever get it right. And what does getting it right look like for Houston? You upgrade your interior offensive line. You upgrade the running back position. You find a way to get a stable, dynamic, possible game-changer tight end, whether it be through the free agency or, in my opinion, that should come through the draft. But you got to get these things handled. And I think with how the defense is set up, the trust is they'll be fine. They'll be all right. Let's focus our resources on the offensive side of the ball. And I think, this should be the offseason to do it. If they don't get it done this offseason, and if they don't upgrade this roster for the start of August, then I don't see them winning a Super Bowl in the era of both Demeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud, which kind of begs the question, who goes first if they can't crack it?
Oh, the easy answer on that one, I think, is the head coach is the one that gets the axe at that point.
Yes. But he's the guy. We talk about, and this is where quarterback wins being a stat pisses people off. But I'm against that argument in a lot of ways because we talk about C.J. Stroud 3-3 in the playoffs. He's won a playoff game every year he's been in Houston in the league. But the defense has scored more touchdowns than the offense. And every year it's top 10, top 5. This year, top 2 defense. The offense, 13, 20. Like the offense has not played up to the level of the defense. And so I kind of look at that and I say to myself, why would the quarterback not go before the head coach when the head coach has had the winning formula?
I think the slogan for the offseason has to be MOGA, make offense great again. Hello, Stan. Welcome to the show tonight. How are you? We asked the question that we were talking about off the air the other day.
I'm glad
Can the Houston Texans, can the Houston Texans make a Super Bowl with this duo of CJ Stroud and Demeco? And I do want to point it out. You sent it in the text earlier today, too. It appears it's a new look CJ Stroud. For everybody out there that's wondering, the hair is gone. It appears. We'll see if that's what he shows up to camp looking like or not. But Stan, will they make it with those guys?
Can they make it? Yeah. Sure, they can. We've seen.
I'm not going to ask you if they will.
We've seen Jimmy Garoppolo playing a Super Bowl. You've seen Jared Goff in the Super Bowl. I'm not talking about guys that are world beaters. Purdy didn't get him to the Super Bowl, did he? Did Purdy lose in that bowl, or was that still Jimmy G?
Okay, the year Purdy was hurt.
So I can't remember if Purdy was starting in that game or not. You've seen second-round pick Jalen Hurts, Channel View's very own, play in the Super Bowl. So does CJ have number 2 overall talent? Yep. Has Demeco Ryans proven to be one of the better head coaches in this league? I say if you find your way into the final 8 teams for 3 consecutive seasons, including 2 division titles, then I would say, yeah, you're one of the better coaches in the league. Now, if you're asking me, will they? I think there's a lot left to be desired in that department, even with having a significant defense, at least a top 10 defense for the first time in Demeco's career, in Houston anyway, this past season when they finished number 2 overall in points allowed. There are a lot of things that need to line up. And the thing that I continue to think about, guys, as we get closer to Super Bowl Sunday, just how much, it's like the closer we get to the game, the more magnified it is just how sweet of an opportunity this was for Houston to get there. I don't know that the road is ever going to be easier than what it's been this year. Granted, they played a first place schedule in the regular season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think about, Stan, you know this. I like to make my Astros equivalents to things when I can. To me, it's the fandom. This is the fandom aspect of it. It's very, very, very similar because growing up as an Astros fan, it was always they go to the playoffs, they get to the divisional round, and they usually get their asses kicked by the Braves every single year. And I remember that feeling when they finally beat them in 2004 and advanced to the NLCS for the first time in my life. And then the next year in 2005 advanced past the Cardinals and go to the World Series. Like I think about that euphoria that I will have when the Texans just get to an AFC championship game. I know that you guys, we were talking about Demeco and CJ here. I don't want to be a complete pessimist because there's a lot of things that can happen. I just think that I'm so down after this past season that I just can't get my mind wrapped around that it's going to work.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the key to everything, in my opinion, is having, those young defensive players under contract through 2027. A smart general manager will look at how the season ended and say, well, we got to fix this thing. And it's not like, well, there's multiple things and aspects that need to be upgraded. No, it's just one side of the ball. And you tried some of these things last offseason, but you did it with guys that were essentially almost out the league. When you look at Laken Tomlinson and Justin Watson and these guys where bargain here, bargain there, roster spot field here of guys with, no resume to back it up. And you can't go that route again, right? And this is why I'm concerned with the job of Nick Caserio through free agency. Also the draft in terms of being able to draft the offensive lineman that can be an impact player day one. He has yet to draft the offensive guard inside that can be an impact player day one. But it should be easy for them to get back to a place where the offense is, I think, moving at a pace where it's modern, it's up to date. You got playmakers on the outside. I think Nick Caserio needs to be bold in addressing the wide receiver position. But it's not like he has to fix the whole roster. He just got to fix one side of the ball. And I think that should be that should cause for some type of optimism. Stan, how do you feel about that?
I think we need to be careful, and this is someone that has been in the scouting department for the National Football League, or at least one of his franchises. Caserio can't just rest on his laurels. You can't just assume that this defense is going to be wash, rinse, and repeat. You have to. It's the general manager's job to look at injuries. I'm just using a defender that was an issue. The legal trouble that happened with Jimmy Ward this year. Things are going to happen with NFL players in the offseason. Guys, whether it's, like I said, injuries, suspensions, legal matters, guys going through personal things off the field. Like, you just never know. So he has to come up with a plan. What if I lose Will Anderson for 8 games? What if Danielle Hunter can't go for half the season? What if Stingley goes down? What if Caleb Bullock is not my safety? He can't. So, the New York Yankees will stay on the baseball, and I know that's a bad word around here. I don't like them either. But from a business standpoint, when the Yankees were printing money at a higher clip, them and the Dodgers are about the same now. The Yankees used to have a business philosophy that you make your strength stronger. They all already sold out in season tickets, but they had the most robust season ticket service department in all of pro baseball. Why? Because they understood that you must fortify relationships for when those lean years or circumstances come, so you can continue to print money. To bring it back to Caserio, that's why I go, you can't just ignore the defensive side of the ball, but obviously the offensive side is where the majority of your energy should be focused. And really, when you're talking about the offensive side of football, the quarterback isn't going to change. This is simply about the offensive line. And I think, Michael, I'm sorry, that's where your trepidation, I assume, comes from. Mm-hmm. You have an issue with CJ, or you have an issue with CJ and this offense behind that line with those lack of weapons?
I think it's probably the latter there, but I think that just more than anything, it was the deer in the headlights look that he just looked like a deer in the headlights in 2 games in the playoffs, and I'm having a hard time getting that image out of my head. I know it in part because he's getting guys coming at him and what. I don't know, man. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong.
That's why I say the 2026 offseason is going to be the year. Like, we talk about, can the duo of Demeco and CJ get it done? I think it's also, we got to look at the trio because of the important factor, the guys that matter the most. Nick Caserio is a part of that bunch. And I think if you look at who can be the one that can possibly get booted first, I think, we can point to Nick Caserio. If he doesn't get the 2026 offseason, have to get this roster to a place where the improvements are real and evident. But when we go back to can the duo get it done? If this is just me, guys, if they can't upgrade at center and guard and get guys that are real body movers, I'm talking about maulers, not the cutest, not all of this, they got swag and all of that, but guys that'll get dirty and move people out the way to open up rushing lanes for running backs, regardless who's in the backfield, then I think this offseason will be a fail.
I think I'm with you. I think we're gonna get to, by the way, the Ed Ingram nugget in a little bit.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was shocked.
So
maybe that's crazy. That market is crazy for him.
So I'm a big Caserio fix this offensive line. So that's just number one.
We lost you for a moment, Stan.
I apologize. Can y'all got me now?
Yeah,
yes, sir.
All right. I don't trust Nick Caserio to fix this offensive line. I just don't.
Well,
he's 1 for 7. So I'm just like,
Do you count Ed Ingram in the or the first year of Shaq Mason in that?
No. Okay. I'm talking about what he's drafted, right? Okay. So if I'm going to give Caserio credit for Ed Ingram, then I have to take away points for Cam Robinson and Laken Tomlinson. So you're
don't forget City.
So I'm like, okay, if you're going to get Trent Brown and Ed Ingram, then I have to give you these over here. It's the same thing. When you miss on Kenyon Green, it's hard to come back for that, especially when Juice and Fisher are giving you essentially nothing at the positions that you drafted them to be at, which was a part of putting together your offensive line plan. So I don't trust Caserio to do what's in the overall best interest of this franchise at that position, right? So then we then have to look at the quarterback, and I see the clock, Michael. You then have to look at the quarterback. Do I trust the quarterback to mask the deficiencies from the general manager? No, I don't. Why? Because he's in an offense that won't allow him to do that. I do not believe you can dink and dunk your way to a Super Bowl. Now, Drake May is about to go play in one on Sunday, and there is some dink and dunk. But what they do with their offense in terms of, and they played one of the weakest schedules in the NFL this year. Most Super Bowl winners do. We'll talk about that another time. Cowherd has been on that all week. But what does Drake May do physically? He does some very different things than CJ Stroud does. I think the New England game plan is much better. And of course, I don't trust Nick Caley. I'm not trying to completely bag on him. I know we out MC, but I need to see difference makers to overcome the general manager and the offensive coordinator. And we'll see if Caserio can go get those, because he has done that right before.
Yeah, we will see. We'll take a quick timeout when we get back. Let's play a hypothetical game, another hypothetical game with the Houston Texans and the Super Bowl this weekend, right here on the Locked On Texans Squad show. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, ordering, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save you hours every single week. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonNFL and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonNFL. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonNFL. All right, it's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Speaking of that Super Bowl, Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman, we're with you on the Locked On Texans Squad show. The Texans could have been playing in it this weekend, so I want to take us into the hypothetical world that they are playing in it. Let's just say that they figured out a way to not turn the ball over a gajillion times against the New England Patriots, and they got out of there with a win. They went to Denver the next weekend, and they were the ones that scored 10 points against that Denver offense that couldn't do a damn thing, and they got out of there with a victory. And now they're in San Francisco taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, the Texans lost to the Seahawks earlier this season, guys. But if we lived in a world where that happened, what we all wanted to happen, do you think they could have beaten the Seahawks in their second matchup this season to win their first Super Bowl in the history of the franchise? Stan?
I probably would have picked Seattle because Seattle is more balanced and their coaching staff is more balanced. I think Sam Darnold has played, and he's going to get some votes for MVP. He played outstanding this year. He's not going to win it. That'll be either Drake May, or more than likely it'll be Matthew Stafford. But Sam Darnold played plenty good this year. He took care of the football. Now they're banged up. You mentioned, Zach Charbonnet is out for them. They got a couple of the pieces that are banged up. running back, Charbonnet. So it would come down to me. I think the Texans defense would have made Sam Darnold turn the ball over, something that he hadn't done all year. I do think that the Texans defense would have taken away Kenneth Walker III in that run game, and they would have forced Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba to have to get creative. Do I think Jackson Smith and Jigba, who this year played like the league's best wide receiver, yeah, he was going to get his pound of flesh. The problem is the Texans offense has to go out there. And let's just say they found a way to get through that game versus the Patriots. That would have been a so-so game versus the Patriots, a bad game versus Pittsburgh that obviously they won, and you're kind of limping into the Super Bowl with 2 weeks to prepare, mind you. But I just think what McDonald has done, what Mike McDonald has done as a defensive-minded head coach in Seattle, and him and Clint Kubiak at the helm of that offense, I just think it would have overall been a little bit too much. Big night for Kyle Fairbairn, but I probably would have picked Seattle in that matchup.
Super Bowl MVP Kyle Fairbairn. Let's get it right.
If he kicks in the game, he would have been.
Kyle with 5 of them, including the walk-off 60-yarder, would have been the sweetest way to end the season.
You know what I have a problem with? Why does it take us so long to hear who's the MVP and get these awards announced in the NFL?
Because they got the award show.
They do it on the eve of the Super Bowl. They do it the Saturday night.
Yeah.
Let's cut that out, man. I hate when the NBA does it. I hate it when the NFL doing it. Can we just announce this early? Because I feel like the playoffs come into account when they go through this MVP stuff. As much as they say it doesn't, I think that they use the playoffs for.
Well, I think they have to vote before or win the regular season.
Yeah, the vote has to be in by the. Yeah. John is saying he doesn't believe the vote is in. He believes he doesn't vote on the ballot.
Listen, you got to check who's voting from Florida. But I couldn't pick Seattle. I couldn't pick the Texans to beat Seattle.
Yeah. By the way, just real quick, sorry. The ballots are due the Monday after the last regular season game.
Still before the playoffs start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They can fool y'all. They're not fooling me. But so, like, when Houston lost the game against New England, what was the deciding factor in that game outside of the turnovers? It was Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. Hey, man, Leonard Williams, my boy Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy the second, yeah.
Yeah, a dog. They got another.
DeMarcus Lawrence has played excellent football on the edge. He's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, no, I look at how
Ernest Jones the fourth. Yeah.
Seattle plays on both sides of the ball 110%, 110% speed. Houston defensively plays that way. And this is something that I talked about Demeco and Nick Caley needing to be better at. Like, they'll get real conservative if they go up 3. Seattle don't play that way. And Seattle continues to fight against whoever they're playing, leading or trailing in the game or tied in the game. And I look at how they just – like that aggressive game plan, I think would hurt Houston's offense. Because from a play calling standpoint, whether it be head coach or offensive coordinator, they'll get to a space where they're, satisfied with the lead and become conservative, while on the other side, the defense for Seattle will still be coming at your throats, still forcing 3 and outs. And that Seattle's offense, all they needed is another shot. Sam Darnold will turn the ball over, but if you give him another shot, he'll hit JSN for a 50-yarder. He'll get those tight ends involved. Kenneth Walker will eventually get the blocking he needs up front. And Charles Cross has played some good football for Seattle this year. The offensive line has played some good football altogether. But eventually he'll get the blocking in space up front to rip off a 20-yarder to help put them in scoring position, right? So, like, Seattle plays aggressive on both sides of the ball 110% of the time. Whereas Houston, it's 110% on the defense because that's the expectation for them to win the game. Seattle feels like their offense can win the ball game with Sam Darnold slinging the PO. I don't think Houston felt like that majority of the year with C.J. Stroud or Davis Mills, and I think that's a characteristic trait that needs to change. But it'll be hard for me to look at whatever Houston may have done against Denver. Now they go up to Denver, it's snow. That have been back-to-back weeks of snow games. How would they have fared then Would there have been some type of improvement that we can go based on? I think it's so many different factors to pull from, but Seattle is the outright better team. And technically they're better on defense, and they're a much better offense for me to pick Houston over.
Just for reference sake, Darnold in that game against the Texans was 17 of 31 for 213, touchdown and a pick, sacked twice. So that was his stat line. I don't think the Texans would be the favorite, by the way. Go ahead, Stan.
No, I doubt they would be. I'm just looking back over the numbers. The two teams combined for 22 penalties, 10 by Houston, 12 by Seattle. That was a sloppy game that Monday night that, all of us stayed up to about 1 a.m. It felt like doing
have we reached the statute of limitations on that game yet? I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I fell asleep in the fourth quarter of that game. I passed out. I missed the first half of that fourth quarter.
And you know what's interesting? Sam Darnold turned the ball over the team turned the ball over 4 times that night. And they still beat the Texans. So how can I
why is that?
like the Texans held the Seahawks going to the Russian. Seahawks had 118 yards on the ground. The Texans had 56. Seattle, 3 of 4 in the red zone. Texans, 1 of 3. Stop me if you heard that before. Seattle had the ball essentially 5 additional minutes.
Yep.
So it's all of the things that we discussed. Let me go up here to third down. The Houston Texans were 2 of 15 on third down. Now, conversely, the Seahawks were 2 for 14. So the defenses were going back and forth. And the Texans defense, they got the ball 4 times for the offense. And the offense, and I should say the team got down 10-0. So it was 10-6 at the half. So the Seahawks won the first quarter, 10-0. They won the first half, 10-6. And then in the second half, both teams were equal at 10 apiece, I do believe. So it was a draw in the second half. I don't know that changes a whole lot. Going on a neutral site, granted.
Mm-hmm.
First time both teams are in this era for the Seahawks, and most certainly the first time ever for the Houston Texans. How would the two teams have handled that pressure? I've seen C.J. Stroud play in big games. Granted, the college football playoff is probably the biggest game. That's as close as he's been to a national championship. And I saw how he played. Yes, it's different, but he at least has some experience to draw from. I got to believe that the Texans, now, would they have gone to get Sam Darnold on the team to turn the ball over 4 times? Doubtful. I just think Seattle's just a little bit better. I think they're a little bit better coached top to bottom. And I think they would have found a way to win.
I think that's one of those games when we look back on this regular season, too. It's so darn frustrating to think about losing because, like you mentioned, you turn a team over 4 times in a football game and you can't win the football game.
Sounds like doing? Detroit in 2024. Y'all remember that game?
Was it like 5?
Yeah. Man, this team seems to be just knocking on the board. And they won, 10 games in a row this year. They get to a place where they, overcome 0-3, and that's amazing. But does it still feel like that they're just knocking on the door of being a true elite team?
Yeah, they feel like they feel like the Lob City Los Angeles Clippers at this point.
Wow, that's great. That's
I like that. It's time to stop. It's time to stop ignoring. I heard the question posed, and maybe we'll bring that back at some point on this show. I heard the question posed on local radio this week. Was this season a failure for the Houston Texans? I think failure is a stretch when you put in context what John just said. You were 0-3, you were 3-5, and you're the 17 in NFL history to come back from 0-3 and to make the postseason. C.J. Stroud surpassing John Elway, the most wins for a quarterback drafted number 1 and number 2 overall in their first 3 seasons. Demeco Ryans, the most wins or tied for the most wins in the history of the franchise. The only coach in Texans franchise history to go 10-plus wins 3 straight years. We could continue to add it up. Azeez Al-Shire, congratulations to you. You had 4 people in the secondary with 4 interceptions or more. You had 2 double-digit sack artists in Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, respectively. We could go. Dalton Schultz was a Pro Bowl nominee. We now know that C.J. Stroud declined the Pro Bowl. We talk about that later. But he was offered it before it went to Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco, whoever else is in it. But the bottom line is, man, this team is not as close as it seems, because what has been the same thing that has hurt him all 3 years in the playoffs? It's the same story. And if we really think back to what I said in May, I said they don't have enough aliens on offense. I said when it becomes January, you're going to need some aliens out there. And they didn't have enough.
Especially considering Nico broke down.
When Nico didn't go, yeah.
Dalton broke down, left the game. The only other pass catcher that was out there that Houston could lean on was Higgins. This is why I'm advocating for Houston to go ahead and call Minnesota about Jordan Addison, man. Like that a potential third round pick in 2026, is that going to give you the same value as a Jordan Addison? When
of course
you
not.
know this offense needs what? Explosiveness, playmakers, outside, inside guys, right? And it also allowed for Houston to kind of hold off on rushing Tank back or introducing him slowly as the season goes on, and you're not having to lean on him and that injury and what he has to fall through to get back to the field. So, like, they got to be bold in their approach, you know. And when you look at Stan Mitchell, I know we got to get out of here. 3 years in a row, the offense has been an issue. In 2026, it don't have to be. If they don't if they don't approach it with a scary mindset, go all in. Because if you don't, if I'm Nick Caserio, if I don't go all in and the result is the same and I still can't put together an offensive line, well, I'm out of a job. So I might as well swing for the fences. I think this team is close enough if they get the right pieces and it starts up front.
I think we found the motto. Don't be scared. 2026. Let's talk about Ed Ingram. Is he about to get mega paid, and is he already out of the Texans price range? Let's talk about it here in a brief second. Locked on Texans Squad Show. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28. Take your taxes off your plate and get your life back. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Squad Show rolling on. Michael Connor and John Hickman and Stan Norfleet. Fellas, the Texans, we've talked a lot about things they're going to have to do. They're going to have some money that comes available when the salary cap officially jumps. They're going to have to move contracts around. They're going to have to, make guys spread some money out. They'll have to get rid of some guys, whatever it might be. To
restructure.
Restructure to get the space that they want. I did find it very interesting today, by the way, that the NFL Players Association presidents up there on the stage saying, we don't want to play 18 games. And he's complaining about Thursday night games. Buddy, you want your guys to get paid? Guess what? That's why you play Thursday night games. And you're going to play an 18th game because your guys want that paper, and they're going to get it. And Ed Ingram wants his paper too. Aaron Wilson, guys, says that Ed Ingram's going to get, what is it? Was it 12 to 15 million? Was
it 15? Or was it 15? Did I say 15, 16? What
15,
did I say?
I thought 15 to 18.
Whatever it is, anywhere from $12 to $18 million, whatever that might be.
15 to 18 is what Aaron Wilson is.
That's crazy because now I wonder what Tyler Linderbaum's contract going to look like.
Yeah, this is a guy that was thrown aside, like just kicked to the curb here to the Houston Texans, basically. Honestly, if he's anywhere between that 15 and $18 million, are they doing this?
No, you're not paying a guard 15 to 18 million when you still have Drew Scruggs on the roster. And you also have Titus that can man the left side.
27 season.
Excuse me. Ed Ingram, according to Pro Football Focus, the 13th highest rated guard overall and the 6th highest rated guard in the run game. Ed Ingram, who is now free agent, obviously, he had a career year by the football metrics when it was time to have a good year, and he's going to be rewarded. I can't see the Houston Texans with everything else they need to do in going to get some skill position players. And I understand that I'm saying the offensive line is where you want to start. I think you go to the draft to lock down one of those guard spots, and then you put Titus at the other guard. And you're going to have to see if you have something in Blake Fisher. Some NFL mock drafts that I've seen for the Texans have the Texans taking a guard and a tackle, or 2 tackles that one can play a guard in the draft in the 1st and 2nd round.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those too.
I'm
against Titus Howard playing guard. I don't know how y'all feel.
I don't love it, but I'm not paying Ed Ingram $18 million to do it.
And like I said, I kind of wonder if Ed is getting between. And shout out to him, by the way. I mean, he did a phenomenal job coming in, getting his body right, and playing good football. If Ed is getting between 15 to 18 million, does that kind of put away the Tyler Linderbaum to Houston?
Yes.
Like that's if that's the range for
that guy's getting what, 26, 27, 28 million a year?
Creed Humphrey in Kansas City is the highest paid center, but I don't know what his deal is off the top of my head.
Houston, get ready to learn Cade Mays, and Cade Mays, hopefully you get ready to learn Houston. But no, I can't do that. I can't do the 15 to 18 million. Shout out to my man Joseph Gary at 6102. I'm about to stop watching the Texans stick to the Rockets and Astros. Well, I mean, you can't watch it right now because they ain't playing football, and I guarantee you, the Rockets.
People say that every year.
Have y'all seen the Rockets lately? I'm so sick of
Houston. They struggle in parts. They're trying to get this point guard thing figured out, and they're gonna miss Steven Adams in the front court this year. They got a few things going on.
They got the same issues that the Houston Texans got. They can't score points when they need to score points. But I'm curious to see, okay, if Houston moves on from Ed Ingram, and I want to bring this back to Titus Howard. Titus Howard is not the guy you need for him in the run game. Maybe a passing game at guard. You could trust him to pick up and pass out blocks and, in terms of protection the quarterback. But time and time again, and you go back and watch some of the tape, and Titus Howard even talked about it, like he wants to get better. He wants the team to be better in short yardage situations. And I don't think Titus at guard is going to help Houston in the area where they suffer the most, and that's being able to run the ball. And the best version of Titus Howard you get is at right tackle. The problem is he's at 27 this year. After this season, Houston has a decision that they need to make. Still have Blake Fisher on a young contract and stay. You're right. I've seen a lot of mock drafts where they have the Texans taking a right tackle at that in the first round, and I just can't wrap my mind around that. So Houston,
why not? Fisher's not good at right tackle.
That's not what. That's not that glaring need. That's not a glaring need for Houston. What's more important, a guard or a right tackle when they got 2 on the roster?
I just went and looked at real quick the average values or the average pay, the leaders at the guard position in the league. There are 16 guards in the league that are averaging on their salary at least $15 million a year.
Shout out to the guards. They're making some
23 of them are averaging at least $10 million a year. And if Ed Ingram got the 18 that we're mentioning, he'd be tied for the 9th highest average per year as a guard.
And he's still a young man. He's still in his 20s.
Yeah.
Ed Ingram, he has played his way out of Houston.
Yeah.
So
it's a good thing for him.
So listen, this is the conversation that we're going to have as we start getting into the combine and into the mock drafts and all of that. This is where missing on Kenyon Green hurts, because one of those guard spots should have been solidified. Yeah. And now you're only talking about, do you put Titus there or do you not? Can Juice Scruggs grow into the position? This is a big year for Juice coming up. I'm almost off the Juice train. I think he was drafted to be, they would say, an interior offensive lineman, but the majority of his reps have come at center. So you got Juice Scruggs and Jared Patterson, and neither one of them are playing center for you. Those are 2 draft selections on rookie contracts that are giving you nothing at their respective positions. Now, Jake Andrews is back under contract. We'll see, can he get himself healthy, and maybe he can play his best ball coming up this year. But Jake Andrews struggled, and to me, he struggled before he got hurt. I never understood putting him in there anyway. So that just exacerbates the issues that you have at guard. It spotlights those even more. So now, essentially, the Texans need to replace 3 positions on the interior. So you ask me, John, what's more important? That's not how the draft works. The draft isn't about, for me, for the football philosophy that I identify with, it's not about, the draft is about value, right? So if a player, if a right tackle, whoever the 3 right, if he's there at 28, you take him because you need help on the offensive line now and in the future.
See, and this is the thing, and I guess I'm looking at it from a conjunction of both the free agency and the draft. But Houston has Blake Fisher, who, I mean, you say he played bad. When Blake Fisher got reps at right tackle in the run game, he played good football.
John,
you have Titus Howard. Let me finish. You have Titus Howard, who's making 27 at guard again. You can't explain that to me. And he best suits this team at tackle.
I agree with that.
If that's the case, you have a right guard who, if you don't sign Ed Ingram, he's out the building. So we got to wait until free agency to see what happens with that. Right? You have a right guard issue. You still have a center issue, whether it's Jake Andrews or not. And you still have a left guard issue because when Houston ran that way, they struggled. And then when they ran towards Ed Ingram, they ran, I think, for maybe 4.5 more yards per pop. So if you lose him, you have to replace that. That's how Houston was able to be successful in the run game for most part of the year. You're looking at 3 interior offensive line voids that you have to fill, and the only tackle worth moving in is Caden Proctor from Alabama, in my opinion. Outside of that, these guys are coming in to play tackle. And it'd be irresponsible for Houston to invest in another tackle when you got those voids where you really need to be able to run the ball.
I look at it this way. There's a reason the mock drafts are saying right tackle, because they've looked at the tape of Blake Fisher. He wasn't good. He hasn't been good since he's been here. He did perform admirably in the jumbo tight end role, and maybe that will give him some confidence and give him a little bit better tape moving forward. And we'll see what can Cole Popovich do with this offensive line in year 2 as being the head guy in that offensive line room from a coaching standpoint. Listen, and I know I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, I promise you. If Blake Fisher could play, he would be out there playing at the position he should be playing. So they need a right tackle. That's why we're going to continue to see mocks at the right tackle. And I'm with you.
Have been mocking tackles to Houston for the past 4 years.
And Houston took one, Blake Fisher.
I'm talking about their first pick in a lot of the majority and popular mock drafts. You look at PFF or PSN, just whoever put out mock drafts, they have mocked a tackle to Houston every year. When I talk to these PFF guys and some of these draft guys, it's always a tackle. And it's just like, okay, 1 year they trade back and they get Kamari. 1 year they trade back and they get Jaden Higgins. It's not like the tackle position for Houston has not been the glaring need, especially dating back to Larry Tunsil was just last year, and they still had tackles mocked to Houston. Houston has been able to either run the ball effectively with or without Joe Mixon. We know Joe Mixon is the ultimate eraser of bad offensive lines. He did it in Cincy. He did it in his long year playing for Houston. For some reason, Houston is skipping out on drafting some of these guards. Now, a source from mine told me that they really like Tyler Booker. If Booker would have fell a little bit closer to that pick, they would have traded up for him, but he went too high. The price was too expensive. But they need a guard, and you're absolutely right. It failed when they didn't hit on Kenyon Green. And I always say, since the last year, I would have loved to see Cole Popovich coach up Kenyon Green, because that's a coach that Green probably needed from a get on your tail type of perspective, right? I'm gonna bring you along, and Chris Dawson was one foot in, 1 foot out. That was a report. But if they can't run the ball on the inside, those tackles to eventually replace Blake Fisher or Trent Brown or Titus Howard, those tackles are just going to be sitting kind of like Blake Fisher is. And Titus Howard is not the answer at guard when he cannot run block at the level this team needs for them to run block.
We all on agreement. Titus belongs at tackle. However, if you get value in the first round because an outside prospect failed to you, they have to go determine that they have to decide where's the value. Do we move Titus in so we can move this first round tackle and let him start on the right side? they got to go through that evaluation. I guess for me, I look at it this way. I think we got to make up our mind. Was the offensive line not up to par because of the interior this year? Or people told me when Trent Brown got plopped in that lineup at the right tackle, everything looked so much better. So is it the tackle or the interior that we're going to put the emphasis on? I'm not saying you wrong. I'm saying I think they want to bring back Jake Andrews at center. That means you got two holes at guard. Is it easier to find a guard? A lot of people like the kid at Penn State. People call him a top 15 pick.
I think we lost him there again.
We did. I think we lost Dan for a second. We'll hit our quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit. I wanted to ask something. There's a video out there about the wide receiver, and we'll talk about that and get Stan. If we get Stan back in here, let him finish his thought here in a moment on the Locked On Texans Squad show. This episode is sponsored by Betterhelp. February can be a lot. Flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and so much to talk about relationships. And it can honestly feel like everyone has it all together in their love life. But here's the truth. Whether you're married, dating, single, or just focusing on you, most people are still figuring it out. And no matter where you are in your romantic journey, therapy can help you find your way. It can help you get clear on what you want, what feels heavy, and how to take some pressure off yourself. Look, like we said, therapy can help you recognize patterns that might be weighing relationships down. It can help you communicate better, set healthier boundaries, and stop carrying everything alone. BetterHelp has licensed therapists in the U.S., and they do the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your goals. And if you want to switch therapists, you can do that at any time. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp.com/locked-on. Squad show continues. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman. I don't know what I've done to hit the buttons here. Hold on, guys. What are we doing? There we are. Watching on the screen, I hit the wrong ones.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, we're everywhere. We're literally everywhere. I'll just do it for the YouTube people. We could just do the show like this. I don't know why, but we could do the show like this. Stan, you were finishing your thought real quick before we get to the wide receiver room stuff.
No, I was just making a comment about Trent Brown. Obviously, this offense looked a lot different when Trent Brown got in there and solidified that right tackle spot. So it's just not disproving anything that John is saying, just bringing more, fodder for conversation. If they're going to bring back Jake Andrews, and I suspect they will, he's under contract, I believe. And clearly he's got
a 1-year deal, I think. Let me look that up.
Was it 1 year? Is he on that free agent list?
He might be. There's nobody that's going to pay him a bunch of money. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that'll be a good.
He's a Texans special. 1 year, $5 million.
All right. So now, essentially, you got to go replace all three interior positions. That's a lot. That's definitely a lot. Now, Titus can man one of them, which takes me back to the whole Trent Brown at right tackle piece. Do you bring back Trent Brown? Can you pencil him in as your starter, which allows you to use that draft capital and your free agent dollars and go to fortify the interior? I'm saying if the Texans go use more capital, whether it be draft or salary cap, good Lord. Jared Patterson was a 6. Juice was a 2nd. We missing somebody else in there. I think those two draft selections.
First.
Kenyon Green is we know
taking it back to Casario's time. He was the first.
Right. So now you flame out. So those are 3 interior linemen that you drafted, and those are just the ones top of mind that wouldn't be starting for you in the first or second round. Patterson again, a 6th rounder, but Patterson has started like 19 games in his league. So I just don't understand what the plan is. I don't understand what they're doing. And now they're up against it because it's clear. Your quarterback can't drag you through it. All right. When your skilled players aren't all out there on the field, even when they are, because I remind people, Nico Collins played in Baltimore in the playoffs in 2023, and he was on the field in Kansas City in 2024. So you can't say Nico wasn't there. He was. Now, he wasn't there versus the Patriots, and that's fair. But they still need more. There's a lot of work to be done over there. I guess that's the easiest way for me to shut up.
Definitely a lot of work to be done. There's work to be done in the wide receiver room as well. One of the things that you sent today, Stan, was a video of former wide receiver Steve Smith talking about the Texans wide receiver. Now, I don't know. Are we believing Steve Smith when Steve Smith in this video says that Tank Dell is the alpha of the room, of the wide receiver? Is he? Really?
So let me say this about Steve Smith. Somebody tweeted this, and I wholeheartedly agree. An NFL team should hire Steve Smith as a wide receiver evaluator for them because, like, he hit on Puka before anybody did. I mean, he was big on JSN. I think he has video talking about why Cooper Kupp is going to be great. Like, he has an eye and a knack for the position he dominated for so long. But when I think, and this is just me, when he called Tank Dell the dog, I love Nico Collins, and I think he's the best receiver in that room. But is he the dog? Like, is he the one that's going to talk and be vocal, or he's going to command a lot of attention? But when Tank is out there with CJ Stroud, it feels like him and Tank, especially when the connection is on and working, it feels like they could do anything together. And I think, again, like I said, from a vocal standpoint, I think Tank Dell is more of a dog in that aspect than Nico Collins. Nico Collins is, he's a quiet playmaker. But I buy into that from Steve Smith. I really do.
Who was the comparison at wide receiver? He said, Anquan Bolden. Is that what he said? I thought, was it Anquan Bolden? He compared Tank's production, not the style of play, but he compared him to somebody, and Bolden is in my head. I don't doubt that Tank Dell has more I don't give a bleep. I come from the mud, not that Nico doesn't, but a different type of chip on his shoulder than Nico. Nico is soft-spoken. He's an excellent player. He's one of the best at the position, hence him being a Pro Bowler again. But the attitude in that wide receiver room, I can understand Tank Dell having more attitude and personality because that's just not Nico's flair. What other receiver, when Stephon Diggs was here, Stephon Diggs was clearly the dog in that room. But when you don't have a Diggs, Robert Woods isn't that type of guy. Noah Brown isn't that type of guy.
Is that something that you have to address? Like, is that part of your evaluation of addressing this room, like, at all, when you're looking to add people to it? Is that you need to find somebody that's,
Yeah. So here's the thing about it. Like, when we saw CJ Stroud in college, MC, name the receivers he played with.
Oh, good Lord. You're trying to get me to remember who he played with like 4 years ago.
Okay, you're right. JSN, dog. Marvin Harrison, I think he had him for a little bit, but Olave, he had him for 1 year. When I'm getting it, he had dudes around him. Like and I think JSN may be the outlier. And I think, coming out of high school and going into college, everybody at Ohio State said he was the one. What I'm getting at is we talk about CJ Stroud,
Abuka.
At this point,
we had Abuka.
Mecca, right? We talk about Stroud at this point in his career not being a quarterback that can lift the inefficiencies of the offense, right?
Yeah.
So what do you have to do? You got to get those dogs and guys around him. And I like I said, I know Nico Collins is the best receiver, but does he add to the confidence of the quarterback? Like, is he a player, and I could be wrong, I could be right, but is he a player that can get his quarterback high? No, but Stephon Diggs was. And Stephon Diggs was the vocal leader. When things were going down, CJ Stroud not really talking with the team like that. Diggs was. Tank has been able to do that. So I look at what this offense lacks, and I compare it to the defense. Kamari Lassiter, he makes a play. What is he doing? He turns up, right? But then I look at Derek Stingley. He's just quiet. That's why that defense is so good. You got Will Anderson, you got Kamari Lassiter, you got some of those guys that are fiery, passionate, vocal, will talk that talk. Then you got Derek Stingley, who's a little bit quiet. On the offensive side of the ball, CJ Stroud is more so like Derek Stingley, in my opinion, in terms of, like, he'll sit there and fold his arms, but he's not the vocal guy. And that's no shot at Stroud, and I don't think that's a bad thing. What I'm getting at is Houston needs more of Kamari's on the offense side of the ball. They need more Will Andersons. And that's what they miss, of anything, from not having Stephon and Tank out there. Those are the dogs offensively that this offense needs. And by the way, Joe Mixon is a part of that group as well.
Yeah,
3 vocal players that Houston did not have a chance to play with this year due to injury or just not returning back to this team.
Yeah, and look, they need some sort of leaders out there, and hopefully, CJ is going. I always say it. Hopefully, he's going to the Tom Brady school of leadership or something, because they always love to mention him and Tom Brady, and how they're connected and all that. Whatever, just figure something out this offseason to lead this thing. John, I know you're going to go off and celebrate your wife here in a moment. We've Stan's gone. We've lost Stan. We'll catch back up with him on the next episode. But you want to give your parting shot here to the people?
Yeah, man, my parting shot to the people, and I know I'm not the general manager, but goodness gracious, just be smart this offseason. Like, you were bad on the inside of their offensive line. And the last time we saw this team play MC, this was Jake Andrews. This was right, and that was the IOL altogether. Throughout the year, I think they improved. They had good moments. I think Jake Andrews had good moments as well. But whenever they played elite D tackles, they were punished. You remember the Jeffrey Simmons play where as soon as the ball was snapped?
Oh God!
You remember that in the backfield?
Yeah, literally,
it was like
the second they snapped.
Yeah, man, like that should be. Anytime they walk, and I'm over exaggerating, of course, but anytime they walk into their front office or the film room where they're getting ready to scout guys, whether it be from free agency or the draft, that needs to be on a loop. That play, the Chris Jones taking over an entire third quarter, and the last time we saw them play against the New England Patriots, that needs to be on a loop. Just those 3 plays, those 3 moments. And that needs to be etched into their brain so they can improve. So that's my parting shot, man. If Houston does not upgrade at center and at the guard spot, they will not get over the hump.
I'm with you there. I want all of that, plus I want another playmaker to this thing as well. We'll be back on Friday for the final episode of the week. We'll, of course, have some new Texans topics to talk about, but we'll also, like everybody else, spend some time talking about the Super Bowl because it's the biggest game of the year, and why wouldn't we talk about it for a moment? For John and Stan, I'm Michael. Thanks for stopping by and watching. Make sure you're checking out John with The Daily Show as well. We'll talk to you on the next episode of the Locked On Texans Squad show.